Welcome to Cricket World TV, our latest hotspot as we look ahead to the World Cup semi-finals. South Africa taking on New Zealand and then Australia playing India. I'm John Pennington, I'm in the UK and I'm joined by Chetan Narula in Auckland, ready for New Zealand against South Africa. Hello Chetan.
Hello John and welcome to our viewers for this last week, the business end of the tournament. 3 matches to go, the first one tomorrow. Just the excitement so building up, can't wait.
And so would you say that the four best teams that we've seen so far are in the semi-finals?
Absolutely, I think these four teams have proven throughout the tournament that they are in fact the best on display, on show. Maybe Sri Lanka were there in a bit, at the start of the tournament. You would have said that yes, they will be in the running. If I remember, I think my picks were New Zealand, South Africa, and Australia, and one of Sri Lanka or India in there. But yeah, India have surprised everyone. Nobody expected this turnaround in form from them. And Sri Lanka had a pretty much a horror quarterfinal against South Africa. So in that particular light, yes, these four teams are the best of the lot in the tournament, and yeah, there is no doubt in my mind that they can put on a brilliant show in these last 3 matches.
Yes, if you watched our sort of quarter-final hotspot, you'll remember we were saying the games weren't particularly competitive. We're almost expecting the semi-finals to be a lot more competitive, a lot more closely matched. If you look at sort of betting odds, that they're very close together. Chetan, let's start with New Zealand against South Africa. Neither of these teams, of course, have won a semi-final, got through to a final, so there's a big prize in it. And New Zealand, not the favourites according to the bookmakers. South Africa the favourites. New Zealand at home, but which way do you see this going, and what are the real key elements that we've got to look out for?
Well, I didn't know first of all that the bookmakers had gone for South Africa, which is a bit of a surprise for me because South Africa have had a difficult period to endure to get in the semi-final. They were beaten by India, they were beaten by Pakistan. They had to really turn it up against Sri Lanka in the quarterfinal and put on a display totally different from the rest of the tournament. So it's not been easy for them. For New Zealand, it's been very, very comfortable in the manner in which they beat Australia. That was splendid. That was exceptional. So I'm not sure. And plus, I mean, New Zealand will be playing in front of 40,000 screaming fans at Eden Park. So I don't see how the bookmakers have gone for the favourites. I think it's still 50-50, if not 51-49 in favor of New Zealand. I think both these sides are pretty much matched in every department. It's a case of who's going to blink first tomorrow, to be very honest. Yeah, that's my initial thought. But talking about their batting or their bowling, we can pick different points where both these sides could gain or lose.
It's interesting you sort of make reference to sort of 51-49. I was talking to Farouk Engineer yesterday, and he very much says the same thing, and he's going for New Zealand. Yeah, these are the sort of games that they could just turn on a magical bowling spell or a particular innings or even a great bit of fielding or a great bit of a great catch or something, couldn't they?
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at it from a batting or a bowling perspective, in the batting department, you have Quinton de Kock and Faf du Plessis and Hashim Amla, David Miller, JP Duminy, Riley Russo, and then you have AB de Villiers. And on the other hand, you have Brendan McCullum, Kane Williamson, double centurion, and Martin Guptill, who have seen that coming. I mean, nobody. And then you have Corey Anderson, Grant Elliott, Luke Ronke. It's pretty much balanced. You have Amla and Guptill and Faf and Quinton and Ken Williamson and Ross Taylor. It's a balance. And then you have McCullum and AB de Villiers, two big heavyweights. And perhaps it's the battle between these two men that's going to define tomorrow's match. I mean, McCullum is known to just hit out. Will he tomorrow concern himself with the gravity of the situation and perhaps play a more solid knock? Or will AB de Villiers, he's always so calculative. I mean, none of his shots are, mistimed or anything. He's just a class marksman. Will he not chop another gear tomorrow? We saw a very special knock from him against Pakistan at the same ground. He almost won the match for South Africa himself. So it's very, very balanced between these two players. Then you look at the bowling. Their pace attack Steyn, Abbott, Mockle, they've just increased their intensity. And that is matched by how Trent bowled and Tim Southee have bowled. I mean, they haven't really needed their third pacer to take wickets. It's just the two have done such a marvelous job. So basically, they're both equated. Then you have Genial Vittori and Imran Tahir, who have pretty much the same number of wickets, almost the same economy. Perhaps a difference in economy, but the same average strike rate. So two wonderful spinners. And then you go to the fifth bowler. You have JP Duminy, and then you have who do you have for New Zealand? Suddenly, Adam Milner is injured, and you have a new face that will come in for a semi-final, big semi-final. They've only made one change throughout the tournament. That's Mitchell McClanahan. That was in Hamilton against Bangladesh. So yeah, he's probably in line to come in, or maybe it will be Match Henry. But the thing is, that fifth bowler again might just be an attacking point for both sides. South Africa haven't had a settled fifth bowler. Sri Lanka, yeah, JP Duminy took a hat trick, but yeah, we saw it wasn't the best of hat tricks. It came towards the lower end, so it was not really just thinking and bowling batsman out. That wasn't the hat trick. It just happened. New Zealand again, the fifth bowler is going to be important. Who comes in and who handles the pressure, because they have played an unchanged side throughout the tournament. So small things, 40,000 people, suddenly South Africa 100 for no loss. Pressures on New Zealand, or New Zealand are 100 for no loss. The pressures on South Africa. We saw, or I saw in the match against Australia. Australia were flustered by that 40,000 crowd. It was immense. It was absolutely immense. So who's to say that it couldn't happen tomorrow to South Africa? They are, as it is. I mean, I don't want to use the choke word, but they are known to do some foolish stuff when under pressure. So who knows what can happen tomorrow? It's just so equal between the two sides.
It is, isn't it? I mean, I think who handles the pressure best, I think you summed it up very well there, could well come through. For me, home advantage, it's got to be a positive for New Zealand, so I'm going to go for a New Zealand win. As you say, it is almost tossing a coin. What about you?
Oof. Well, my heart says New Zealand because I really want them to win a World Cup, and I think they really deserve to win, but a World Cup. But the way they've played over the last 1.5 years. But for some reason, my brain says it's going to be South Africa. For some reason, I mean, I don't know why, but it's just, yeah, I'll probably go with South Africa too.
A split decision from the Cricket World panel there. Then I know that Alistair's going for South Africa as well, and Farouk's going for New Zealand. So it really is. It just shows how close this game is. That all of our sort of correspondents and colleagues and staff members, we're all difficult to really nail this one down. What about the second semi-final then? Australia taking on India. Australia are favourites for this one with the bookmakers. Just give us your sort of lowdown on this one. You've got an Australia team on a decent run, India on an even better run, almost unrecognisable from the team that struggled against Australia in the tri-series that preceded this tournament. So just give us your sort of lowdown on this one.
I think the bookmakers got right on that one. I think Australia are the favourites. Just a very, very strong team. Their bowling attack is, it's the best in the business at the moment. Mitchell Starc looking the part, and he has all sorts of support. Maybe they don't have a spinner, but do they really need a spinner? If you have 3 medium pacers and 4 fast bowlers, do you really need a spinner? I don't think so. You have Glenn Maxwell, he can bowl some overs for sure. You have Michael Clark, Steve Smith, so you don't really need a full-time spinner. India, well, they have been on a roll, yes, but look who they have beaten. The first game they beat Pakistan, half-baked side. Don't really expect much. I mean, overachieved in pushing Australia in the quarterfinal, to be very honest. Leave out the South Africa game for a moment. Then they beat the UAE, West Indies, Zimbabwe, Ireland, and then they beat Bangladesh. All of these sides, on any day of the year, in any part of the world, you would expect India to beat these sides. So, what is the hoopla about? It's probably because they beat South Africa. That was the big game. And the one thing about that big game was there were 80,000 Indian fans at the MCG that day. And in Sydney, according to reports, it's going to be out of a 42,000 crowd, 70% are expected to be Indian fans. Now, the last time Australia played against such a partisan crowd was in Auckland, and they really struggled. Are they going to struggle on Wednesday too? I'm not so sure because it's still their home ground. They might be rattled. Oh, what's happening on our home ground? But that might also inspire them that let's show these buggers who's the boss, who owns this ground. So that's a very, very interesting scenario, if I can say, that's emerging in this matchup. Um, at the same time, India's bowling has really come up. I mean, I'm not so sure about the batting. I'll come to that in a bit. But with bowling, they have really, really come up because of the lengths that they're bowling. And the one thing that they've been rewarded is with consistency. They have, like in New Zealand's case, they have played with the same bowlers. The only thing is that, luckily enough, they don't have any injury in their attack. Otherwise, that would be a cause for mayhem. But they've also given Bhuvneshwar Kumar a run in. So there are still 2 days to go. I'm not saying let there be an injury. I'm just saying that they are in a better position than New Zealand. They don't have to worry about it. The only worry is perhaps Ravindra Jadeja, which brings us to batting. He's not done very well with the ball, but he doesn't need to do very well with the ball because the rest of them are doing well. But the fact he's not done so well with the bat either. Yes, he scored that cameo against Bangladesh, but it was against Bangladesh for crying out loud. Against Mitchell Starc, Mitchell Johnson, Josh Hazelwood, can he score 25 runs of 12 balls? I'm not so sure. That brings us to the batting order, Indian batting order, and again to the Bangladesh match. They were 115 for 3, 126 for 3 after 30 overs, and they plundered 176 runs in the next 20 overs. In all earnestness, I don't see, if again India batting first at the SCG against Australia are 126 for 3 in 30 overs, I do not see them scoring 300 runs from there. The Australian bowling attack is totally different from the Bangladesh bowling attack. Absolutely different. Their fielding is different. Brilliant fielders, incisive bowling attack. So, will India score 180 odd runs in 20 overs against Australia? Improbable. Not unlikely, improbable. So for me, that's the scenario of this game. What the 6 batsmen can do. On their day, the 6 batsmen can devastate any bowling attack in the world. But a bowling attack so strong as Australia's that can almost defend a 150 run target, 6 batsmen are perhaps not enough. And that's the weak point for India. Will they be able to overcome that? It's just about it. If India, the whole match, the second semi-final rests on this. If India bat first, put on 300, then Australia come under pressure. But that 300 is a big if for me, and that's where this match rests.
I was just about to sort of come to you on that, Chetan, about whether, what happens if India bat first? Do they have to get to 300? You've answered that one, I think. And how crucial then is somebody like Suresh Raina, who has been a big game player in both this World Cup and the previous? Are you looking at someone like him to really, again, come to the fore and help India out?
Absolutely. I think more than Suresh Raina. Suresh Raina comes to bat at number 5. Before him, there are 4 batsmen, and they have to stand up. Rohit Sharma hit 100 against Bangladesh. He's done nothing else in this tournament, and yes, that was a good 100, but he has to rise up to the challenge against the bigger teams. Shikhar Dhawan has got 200, so he needs to make that form count. Virat Kohli, we haven't heard from Virat Kohli since the first match in Pakistan. He's embroiled himself in useless controversies off the field and all. So, I mean, it's a big game. Let the big game players step up. Ajinkya Rahane, similarly, he played a wonderful knock, wonderful knock against South Africa. So you're looking at, apart from Shikhar Dhawan and Suresh Raina, or maybe MS Dhoni to a certain extent because he's played a decent knock against Zimbabwe, which was just one match ago. So basically, you're looking at Shikhar Dhawan, Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma, Ajinkya Rahane, who are probably, Virat Kohli and Ajinkya Rahane, whose knocks came too early in the tournament. We are in the last week. That came in the first week. So it's been 4 weeks since they've done anything, of use against a decent opposition. So yeah, I think it's a big game. Big game players have to step up. It's pretty much simple, and it's not just for India. Australia will have to bring their A game as well.
And India's run of continually sort of bowling their opponents out. I mean, if they can bowl Australia out, well done. But if they can obviously bowl them out for, Australia batting first, bowl them up 200, that will really be a mark of something for this bowling attack, won't it? Who have done pretty well, because you mentioned a lot of batsmen out of form there, yet India are still winning games, and that does suggest the bowling attack is up to this point doing the job for them.
Yeah, they're not out of form. It's just that they haven't. I mean, in a world tournament, if you look back at 2011, forget 7, it was an aberration. 2003, 99, 96, 90, until 96. Every time there's been a World Cup, Indian batsmen have been in the top 5 scorers. It's not the case this time. None of the Indian batsmen are in those top run getters. And why? Because the bowling has performed. But again, who have they performed against? Yes, they got South Africa out. I thought that was the only good performance, or only performance which is which is a little surprise worthy. I mean, otherwise, you look at Pakistan, who always wilt under pressure in this game, or the rest, you expect India to bowl them out. That's my point. I'm not belittling India. I'm just saying that it's been that sort of a tournament that a lot has been made up about things which should have been obvious, and the only reason for that is that their form before the tournament was not that great. So it's just basically been a turnaround, and yes, it's been a positive because they've learned from their mistakes. That's the real positive, not that they have won 6 matches in a row or 7 matches in a row. But again, this is the big test. All comes down to this. You've learned from experience, you've changed it around. Very good. Beat the team you haven't beaten in the last 3 months.
So the key question then, Chetan, is: are they going to do it, or are Australia going to win and get through to the final?
Why don't you answer that first?
Well, I will answer it first, and I've gone with Australia for a long time, and I'm not going to change my mind right now. For me, Australia, too strong. I know there's going to be however many thousand Indian fans in the ground, but at home, better knowledge of their conditions, know what to expect. I just think they're going to be too strong, and it could be a very close game. It could be an absolute thriller. Let's hope it is. We're all concerned, but for me, I'm going to stick with Australia to go through to the final and make it an Australia-New Zealand final.
Well, the first hotspot for the World Cup we did, I picked out Australia as eventual champions, and that means beating India at this point. So, yeah, I'm gonna stick with that. Australia, too strong. India's only chance: bat first, get 300. That's it. That's India's only chance, and that's like too minimalistic. On a Sydney pitch, I really doubt if Australia bat first, India can bowl them out for 200. It will be the shock of the decade if that happens. So yeah, going with an Australian win for me. So pretty much it's an Australia-South Africa final from my point of view.
Well, we will indeed see what happens, Chetan. Thank you very much for your time once again today, and obviously enjoy the semi-finals, and we'll catch up before the final.
Absolutely, it's been a pleasure. No, thanks.
Thanks, Chetan. Thank you for watching us here on Cricket World TV, and goodbye for now.